How's it going? I wanted to talk about the transgender bathroom issue because, the more I think about it, I guess it's a pretty loaded topic. I mean, I think we all knew that already, but looking at it from a natural law perspective, you know, I I mean, I can see how it would be problematic. And I think that's because, well, everybody has their own opinions, and we're not all always going to agree on everything. So I had made a post on Facebook because the governor of my state had recently passed a bill that made it illegal for transgender women to use the women's restrooms. And my initial response, since I've spent some time looking into the law and I'm kind of starting to understand, how this can be used as a method of self defense, working within this society that we are in, that unfortunately is filled with man's laws. We're not anywhere close to this voluntarist society that we're working toward. So, I think it's important to have an understanding of how to basically defend ourselves against the laws if they should seek to impose someone else's will on us. And, I realized, okay, well, let me start over because I had made the comment that, well, a transgender woman who has an understanding of the law would be able to defend against this because any business that's open to the public would be considered a place of public accommodation. Therefore, it's illegal for them to discriminate against someone for any reason or require any kind of medical treatment or information. And my thinking there was, well, basically, how are you going to prove what genitals someone has if it comes down to that and you want to say that they shouldn't be allowed to use that restroom? And I should probably preface this with the fact that even though it shouldn't matter, because this is a question of common courtesy, just for full disclosure, I do have a transgender woman that is part of my extended family, and I supported her from the day that she came out because that's her, that's what makes her feel comfortable. That's how, she feels comfortable in her own skin. And regardless of what anybody else may think about it, it's really not their decision. And as long as she's not hurting anyone else, which she's not, she has every right to, live her life the way she feels comfortable living it. And, I'd challenge anyone to say differently. And I'm sure there are going to be people, of course, on every issue there will be. But anyway, so let me preface that because I may have a little bias. I'm sure I do on this topic. Although I try to think in terms of natural law, and if we want to, fight for everybody's right to live in a system where no one else's will is imposed upon them, then unfortunately, well, there's going to be times when we may not agree with what someone else is doing, and or maybe something will inconvenience us in some way, but, they're really not doing direct harm to us, so we really don't have a place to say anything about it. Anyway, so I had made the comment that a transgender woman who has an understanding of the law would be able to fight this because of that fact. And, my thinking there is that if a law is going to be used to, prevent someone from doing something that they should otherwise be able to do, then understanding the law and using it in that circumstance would be an act of self-defense. Okay, now, there are a lot of layers to this, however, because what if this is, any private business, okay, regardless of what the law says, any private business should have the right to refuse service to anyone, and however bigoted they may be, okay, I'm going to say that, because if you're, refusing service to someone because they're transgender, and they haven't done anything to hurt anybody, then, that's kind of messed up. Whatever you can think, however you want about that, but, to me, that's an act of bigotry. Now, if you, see a guy who is very clearly male and doesn't even look like they're trying to be transgender, look, I get this is a whole spectrum of things, and I don't know. That's where it gets to be kind of a gray area. Do you want to, let this guy follow, your daughter or your wife or sister, whatever, into the bathroom? It's kind of one of those things, because you do hear about this being abused, right? You do hear about the law and the whole identifying thing being abused, and there's always going to be a few people who fuck things up and are just not acting in, I don't know. If somebody's saying that they're a woman just so they can have easier access to women in vulnerable areas, then that's pretty fucked up. And, they probably need to get their ass beat. And this is where I guess self-defense comes to mind too, a woman should be strapped. What can I say? If you're in, a situation where, you might come into contact with men who, outweigh you or is stronger than you, and, you need an equalizer, right? You need something to give you a fair chance if it should come to that. So, that's kind of my thinking there. I don't agree we should go around shooting each other, obviously. I think that every person has the right to self-defense, however. So, that's kind of my thinking there. But, yeah, as far as the business aspect, does the owner have the right? Well, technically, under natural law, they do. And I'll tell you that if, there was a business who I knew that was refusing service to transgender people or gay people or, people of certain ethnicities or anything like that, I probably wouldn't want to go to that business, because you're just being a dick, and you have the right to be a dick. And you know what? Unfortunately, that's kind of like when we're protecting freedom of speech. We're protecting your right to be a dick too, okay? As long as you're not imposing your will on anybody and saying, well, if you're in this demographic, then you have to do this or you have to do that. Well, no, fuck you. We don't have to do anything. Nobody has to do anything, you know? So yeah, I mean, I guess really it doesn't get any more clear than that. I mean, obviously, you know, like I said, there's going to come up gray areas where I don't know how good I feel about, you know, that guy that just walked into the bathroom right after my daughter. Like, you know, that's something that, you know, maybe there's not any cut and dry answer for a situation like that. Okay. I mean, I guess other than, okay, well, you know what? So just for my daughter's protection in this case, I'm going to go with her. You know, look, most people who go into the bathroom are going to the bathroom to use the bathroom. They're not going in to creep on anyone, right? So it's like we need to consider that. You know, I don't know. But anyway, so yeah, it's a contentious topic and may not have any clear-cut answers because, you know, there comes a time when everybody kind of has to make their own decision and take it on a case-by-case basis. You know, when we start getting the law involved and forcing people to act one way or the other, you know, that becomes problematic. And so that was why I had said earlier, well, in that case, I'd probably use the law against that. I'd probably use the law in a self-defense way and say, well, you know, actually, no, I have the right to use whatever bathroom I want. You know, I mean, imagine being a transgender woman and, you know, you feel comfortable using the women's restroom and you're using it for the same reason everybody else is, okay? You're not trying to be a creeper. You know, you identify as a woman. So, you know, I think we also need to really kind of employ a little consideration for other people, you know, and then it becomes the whole topic of, well, you know, I'm not going to be forced to call somebody whatever they want to be called, like, regardless of if it goes against, you know, what I see as truth. Well, you know, then call people whatever you want. That's fine. You have that right. You know, to me, like, if somebody is clear about what they prefer to be called, and it's not hurting me any, then in most cases I probably will. If I think it's just totally ridiculous, I may not. You know, that's another thing, I guess, that should be taken on a case-by-case basis. But, like, I'm not going to go out of my way to, you know, I'm willing to extend some consideration to other people and act in a way that is accommodating to them. But the second you try to force it on me, that's when we may have an issue. You know, I think that's kind of how we can look at that from a natural law perspective. But anyway, I guess I don't really have a lot more to say on this issue. You know, it really comes down to we need to respect other people's rights. Okay, and just because we have rights doesn't mean we can't extend people certain courtesy, you know. You also have the right to be a dick, and that's fine. Okay, I'm gonna support your right to be a dick, but I'm probably gonna try not to be, even though I am sometimes without meaning to be. So, anyway, all right, guys. Everybody have a good one. Take care.